Have you noticed Big Oil just reported its profits, record profits? They invested too little of that profit to increase domestic production. And when I talk to a couple of them, they say, we're afraid you're going to shut down all the oil wells and all the oil refineries anyway, so why should we invest in them? I said, we're going to need oil for at least another decade, and that's going to exceed and beyond that. We're going to need it.
Our commander in chaos at last night's State of the Union address, trying to bash oil companies over profits while also telling them that their days are numbered.
Joining us now with some insight into the actual future of American energy is North Dakota Senator and member of the Energy and Resource Committee, John Hoeven. Senator, welcome to the bottom line, middle of week 3. We didn't make week 1 or week 2, but thank you for joining us on week 3. It's good to see you.
Sean, good to be with you, and Dagen, you too.
So let's talk about that clip we just saw. Obviously, it was a raw reaction from Republicans to say, listen, we're going to be out of oil and gas in the next 10 years and make a complete transition to green energy or electric energy. What's your take?
People couldn't believe it. I mean, you heard the reaction. They're going, wait a minute, you're telling these energy companies you're going to put them out of business, and then they're supposed to invest in plant and equipment to produce more oil and gas when you are preventing them from drilling more oil and from transporting it to the refinery. You're holding up their ability to build or expand a refinery by not providing the permits or increased environmental regulations. So you're doing everything you can to drive up costs, to switch people away from oil and gas to other forms of energy, and then you're saying, build more refining capacity. People just couldn't believe it. It's beyond belief.
Well, and he gets his knickers in a twist about the profits that the energy companies are making. Well, oil prices have gone through the roof because of his very policies. And then he turns around and castigates those very energy companies for what he gave them, in essence. And even people on the left, congressmen, have chewed oil executives out on Capitol Hill for not cutting production. And so when they cut production and prices go up and they make profits, then they get angry. Senator?
Well, exactly, Dagen. Think about it. We're producing less oil today than when President Biden came into office, specifically because he's preventing our energy. He's put handcuffs on energy companies. He won't let them produce more energy. They can't produce on public lands, both onshore and off. Where they can, he's increased the royalty rates. One of the first things he did when he came into office was to stop the Keystone Pipeline, so they can't move it to their refineries. And then they can't get the permits as well. And if they do get a permit, they're held up in court with litigation. And then they can't get the permits to expand the refining capacity. I mean, it's just unbelievable. He is driving up the price of oil. It's $1 a gallon higher than when he came into office. Like I say, we're producing less. My state of North Dakota, we went from 1.5 million barrels a day down to about 1.1 million barrels a day because of all these regulatory burdens and things he's doing to drive up prices and prevent the very thing he was talking about doing last night, which is expanding capacity. Final point right here. Remember what President Reagan said. If you want less of something, you regulate it and you tax it. And what was his solution? Now he's going to raise taxes in addition to all of these other constraints that he's put on the energy industry. It was really unbelievable.
But, Senator,
and that's why you saw the reaction. That's why you saw the reaction you did.
But the oil companies are smart. If you're going to spend billions of dollars, whether you're exploring for oil and gas, or you're going to spend billions of dollars in a new refinery, or build a platform off the coast in the Gulf, you're not going to recoup those costs in 10 years. It could be a 10 or 20-year window. So no one's going to make an investment of that size when Joe Biden says we have no oil and gas in just 10 years.
Precisely, Sean. I mean, it would take you a minimum, if you could even get it done, 5 years to do the permitting and the engineering and meet the environmental requirements. Then you start to build it. You could hardly build the thing in 8 to 10 years, let alone even begin to pay for it. Furthermore, what are you going to process? If he's not going to let us produce oil here at home, what are you going to put through that refinery? I mean, it's crazy. It was just unbelievable.
I would just add one thing, though. I don't think it was a mistake, obviously. People laugh, but the 10-year thing, it kind of lines up with when California will ban the sale of new cars with an internal combustion engine. I think it's 2035 when California does that. I don't think it was a mistake, just like it was not a mistake when he said we're going to transition away from the oil industry. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, but the other thing you got to mention is, remember, we have inflation at a 40-year record high. The energy component is a big part of it. It's in every product and every service, and he's driving up that energy cost. And that hits low-income Americans the hardest, because inflation hits them the hardest, whether they go into the grocery store, filling their tank, or whatever it is.
So true, Senator Hoeven. Thank you for joining us on The Bottom Line. You're the best.
Thanks, guys.